What if the storm of anger raging within you could become a gentle breeze of clarity and peace? Imagine a life where every fiery emotion transforms into a source of strength, understanding, and serenity. At Daily Buddhist, we believe that ancient wisdom holds the key to this profound shift, a shift that can ripple through your consciousness and daily life, starting today. As the great Buddha once said, "You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger." Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time anger consumed your peace? How did it feel to carry that weight? Today we're diving into 8 life-changing lessons from the Buddha that will guide you to master your emotions and turn anger into a powerful tool for growth. Let's embark on this journey together. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of inner calm? Lesson 1: Self-reflection is your superpower. Self-reflection is a sacred mirror, reflecting the hidden corners of our hearts. The Buddha taught that by looking inward, we can uncover the true sources of our anger, perhaps a lingering disappointment from a missed opportunity or a wound from a distant memory, like the time Maya, a young woman from a bustling city, felt betrayed by a friend's harsh words. She realized her anger stemmed not from the words, but from her own unmet need for validation. As the great Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." Our thoughts shape our reality. By reflecting daily, perhaps through journaling or a quiet walk in nature, we can identify our triggers, address them at their root, and transform anger into understanding. Imagine Maya sitting by a serene lake, breathing deeply, and realizing her anger was a signal to heal her self-worth. This practice of self-reflection can become your superpower, guiding you toward peace. Let's delve deeper into Maya's story. She had always been the dependable one in her circle, the friend who listened and supported others without asking for much in return. But when her closest friend, Lila, dismissed her feelings during a vulnerable moment, Maya felt a fire ignite within her. Her initial reaction was to lash out, to sever the friendship in a blaze of righteous anger. But something stopped her, a whisper of wisdom she'd once heard in a meditation class: "Look within before you act." That evening, Maya sat by the lake near her home, the water's surface shimmering under the moonlight, reflecting her turbulent emotions. She closed her eyes and asked herself, "Why does this hurt so much?" As she breathed deeply, memories surfaced, times in her childhood when she felt unseen by her family, moments when her need for validation went unmet. The anger wasn't just about Lila. It was a mirror to a deeper wound. This realization didn't erase the pain, but it softened it, allowing Maya to approach her friend with honesty rather than rage. She shared her feelings calmly, and to her surprise, Lila apologized, admitting her own stress had clouded her judgment. Their friendship grew stronger through this moment of vulnerability. Self-reflection, as the Buddha taught, is not a one-time act but a daily practice, a sacred ritual that helps us peel back the layers of our emotions. It's like tending to a garden. We must pull out the weeds of misunderstanding to let the flowers of clarity bloom. For Maya, this meant setting aside 10 minutes each morning to journal her thoughts. She'd write about moments that frustrated her, asking questions like, "What am I really feeling? What need is unmet? How can I respond with kindness?" Over time, she noticed patterns. Her anger often flared when she felt unappreciated, a signal to set better boundaries or communicate her needs. This practice empowered her to transform reactive anger into proactive understanding, a skill that rippled into every area of her life. At work, she began addressing conflicts with colleagues by first reflecting on her emotions, leading to more collaborative solutions. In her personal life, she became a source of calm for her family, often guiding them through their own emotional storms with the same reflective approach. The Buddha's teaching, "The mind is everything," reminds us that our thoughts are the seeds of our reality. If we plant seeds of anger without reflection, we grow a forest of suffering. But if we tend to those seeds with mindfulness, we cultivate a garden of peace. Self-reflection can take many forms: meditation, journaling, or even a quiet moment of prayer. For some, it might be a walk in the forest, listening to the rustle of leaves as a reminder of life's impermanence. For others, it could be a conversation with a trusted friend who acts as a mirror, reflecting back our blind spots. Whatever form it takes, the key is consistency. By making self-reflection a daily habit, we train our minds to pause before reacting, to understand before judging. This is the superpower the Buddha spoke of, a tool that not only tames anger but also deepens our connection to ourselves and others, leading us toward a life of greater harmony and understanding. Lesson 2. Don't allow the comments and attitudes of others to control your life. Anger often flares when we let others' words or actions disturb our inner calm. The Buddha taught that we must not surrender our peace to external forces. When we react impulsively to negativity, we give away our power. Consider Arjuna, a teacher in a small village, who once felt rage when a colleague criticized his methods. Instead of lashing out, he paused, remembering the Buddha's wisdom. You will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by your anger. By choosing not to react, Arjuna protected his well-being, maintaining his serenity despite the storm around him. Let's learn from Arjuna. Stay composed, and don't let others dictate your happiness. Arjuna's story offers a profound lesson in emotional sovereignty. He taught in a modest school nestled in the hills, where the community valued tradition over innovation. Arjuna, however, was passionate about introducing creative teaching methods, storytelling, art, and interactive games to make learning joyful for his students. One day, during a staff meeting, a senior colleague, Mr. Sharma, publicly criticized Arjuna's approach, calling it childish and a waste of time. The words stung like a swarm of bees, and Arjuna felt a surge of anger rising in his chest. His first instinct was to defend himself, to argue that Mr. Sharma was stuck in the past. But as the meeting ended, Arjuna stepped outside, the cool mountain air brushing against his face, and he remembered the Buddha's teaching. He sat on a bench overlooking the valley, watching the clouds drift lazily across the sky, and asked himself, "Why am I letting this man's words steal my peace?" In that moment, he realized that reacting would only deepen the conflict, giving Mr. Sharma power over his emotions. Instead, Arjuna chose to let go. He returned to the school, smiled at Mr. Sharma, and continued teaching in his unique way. Over time, his students' joy and progress spoke louder than any criticism, and even Mr. Sharma began to soften, eventually asking Arjuna to share his methods. This lesson is a reminder that our peace is our own to protect. The Buddha's wisdom teaches us that external forces, whether harsh words, judgmental attitudes, or unfair actions, are like passing storms. They may rage around us, but we don't have to let them uproot our inner calm. Imagine your mind as a still lake. Others' words are like stones thrown into the water, creating ripples. If we react, we stir the lake into a frenzy, but if we remain steady, the ripples eventually fade, leaving the water clear once more. Arjuna's choice to pause and reflect allowed him to maintain his dignity and focus on what truly mattered: his students' growth. This principle applies to all of us. Perhaps you've experienced a moment when a friend's careless comment or a stranger's rudeness sparked anger. In those moments, the temptation to react is strong, but the Buddha invites us to step back, to breathe, and to ask, "Is this worth my peace?" Often the answer is no. Practicing this lesson in daily life can be transformative. Start by noticing when someone's words or actions trigger you. Maybe it's a coworker's snide remark, a family member's unsolicited advice, or a driver cutting you off in traffic. Instead of reacting, take a deep breath and visualize yourself as a mountain, unshaken by the winds of negativity. Then, redirect your energy towards something positive. A kind word, a moment of gratitude, or simply walking away. Over time, this practice builds resilience, teaching us to hold our peace like a precious gem, untouchable by the chaos of the world. Arjuna's story shows us that when we refuse to let others control our emotions, we reclaim our power, creating a life of serenity and strength that radiates to those around us. Lesson 3. The core of anger beyond ignorance. At the heart of anger often lies ignorance, a lack of understanding about ourselves, others, or the situation. The Buddha taught that anger blooms from misunderstandings or false assumptions. When we feel threatened, we lash out, as Priya did when she argued with her brother over a family decision, not realizing her frustration came from her own fear of change. By seeking clarity, as the Buddha advised, an idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that exists only as an idea. We can dispel ignorance. Priya later sat with her brother, listened, and understood his perspective, turning her anger into a moment of connection. Knowledge and understanding are the antidotes to anger's poison. Priya's experience reveals how ignorance can fuel our emotional fires. She and her brother Vikram had always been close, But a disagreement over their parents' decision to sell the family home in their coastal town sparked a heated argument. Priya accused Vikram of being selfish, of not caring about their shared memories. Her voice trembled with anger as she stormed out of the room, feeling betrayed. But later that evening, as she sat on the beach, watching the waves crash against the shore, she remembered a teaching from a Buddhist retreat. Anger often stems from a lack of understanding. Priya decided to seek clarity. She invited Vikram for a walk the next morning, and as they strolled along the shoreline, she really listened to his perspective. Vikram explained that the sale was necessary to fund their parents' medical care, a detail Priya had overlooked in her emotional haze. Her anger had been rooted in ignorance, a false assumption that Vikram didn't value their past. This realization softened her heart, and she apologized, her anger dissolving into a renewed bond with her brother. They hugged as the sun rose, a symbol of the clarity they'd found together. The Buddha's teaching here is a call to action. To transform anger, we must replace ignorance with understanding. Ignorance is like a fog that clouds our vision, making us see enemies where there are none. When we feel threatened or frustrated, our minds often jump to conclusions, as Priya did, assuming the worst about others' intentions. But the Buddha invites us to step out of the fog, to seek the light of knowledge. This might mean asking questions, listening deeply, or reflecting on our own biases. For Priya, it meant having an honest conversation with Vikram, but for others, it could mean researching a situation, seeking a different perspective, or even meditating on the root of our feelings. Imagine a coworker's harsh email that sparks your anger. Before replying, pause and consider. Do I fully understand their perspective? Could stress or miscommunication be at play? This simple act of seeking clarity can prevent a spiral of conflict. In practice, dispelling ignorance requires curiosity and humility. Start by noticing when anger arises and ask yourself, what don't I understand here? Maybe you're angry because a friend canceled plans, but you don't know they're struggling with a personal crisis. Or perhaps you're frustrated with a partner's behavior, unaware of the cultural differences shaping their actions. By approaching these moments with a beginner's mind, open, curious, and free of assumptions, you create space for understanding. Over time, this practice not only reduces anger but also deepens your empathy, allowing you to see the world through others' eyes. Priya's story reminds us that when we replace ignorance with knowledge, we turn anger into an opportunity for connection, healing, and growth. Lesson 4. Acknowledge anger as a natural emotion. Anger is a natural part of being human, a wave that rises in us all. The Buddha taught that we must not deny or suppress it, but acknowledge it with compassion. When we recognize anger without judgment, we take the first step toward mastering it. Suppressing it, as Riya, a young artist, once did, only led to an emotional explosion that damaged her relationships. By observing her anger with curiosity, why did she feel this way? What unmet need was beneath it? She learned to channel it into her art, creating a masterpiece that spoke of her struggles. As the Buddha said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Acknowledging anger allows us to feel it without letting it control us, creating space for healing. It's a signal that something within us needs attention, a boundary crossed, a fear awakened. By accepting anger as natural, we avoid guilt and shame, choosing instead to respond with calm communication or creative expression, fostering long-term emotional well-being. Riya's journey with anger offers a powerful example of this teaching. She was a painter in a vibrant city, known for her vivid landscapes that captured the beauty of nature. But beneath her calm exterior, Riya often felt a storm brewing. When a gallery owner rejected her work, calling it uninspired, Riya's anger erupted like a volcano. She suppressed it, telling herself she shouldn't feel this way. After all, she was an artist, meant to be above such emotions. But the more she pushed her anger down, the more it grew, until one day she snapped at her best friend, Neha, over a trivial matter. The argument left Riya in tears, and she realized she couldn't keep denying her feelings. Sitting in her studio, surrounded by her canvases, she decided to follow the Buddha's advice. Acknowledge the anger. She closed her eyes, placed a hand on her heart, and whispered, "I'm angry, and that's okay." She asked herself, "What's beneath this anger?" The answer came slowly, a fear of failure, a need for acceptance. Riya picked up her brush and began to paint, pouring her emotions onto the canvas. The result was a stormy seascape, dark and turbulent, yet with a glimmer of light breaking through the clouds. The gallery owner later saw the piece and called it a masterpiece, but more importantly, Riya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. By acknowledging her anger, she had transformed it into something beautiful. The Buddha's teaching here is a gentle reminder that anger is not our enemy. It's a messenger. When we suppress it, as Riya did, we create a pressure cooker, ready to explode at the slightest provocation. But when we acknowledge it with compassion, we open a door to healing. Imagine anger as a child tugging at your sleeve, asking for attention. If you ignore the child, it cries louder, but if you kneel down and listen, you understand its needs. Acknowledging anger means sitting with it, observing it without judgment. You might notice physical sensations, tightness in your chest, heat in your face, and simply breathe into them. You might ask, what is this anger trying to tell me? Perhaps it's a boundary that's been crossed, as when a friend repeatedly cancels plans, or a deeper fear, like Riya's fear of failure. By listening to anger's message, we can respond thoughtfully. Maybe by setting a boundary, expressing our feelings calmly, or channeling the energy into a creative outlet like painting, writing, or even a vigorous hike. This practice also helps us release the guilt and shame that often accompany anger. Many of us, like Riya, feel we shouldn't be angry, that it's a sign of weakness or failure. But the Buddha teaches that anger is universal, a natural response to life's challenges. By accepting it, we free ourselves from self-criticism, creating space for self-compassion. Over time, this approach not only diffuses immediate anger, but also fosters emotional resilience. We learn to see anger as a teacher, guiding us toward greater self-awareness and growth. Riya's story shows us that when we embrace anger as part of our humanity, we can transform it into a source of strength, creativity, and connection. Lesson 5. Practice forgiveness to free yourself. Forgiveness is a sacred act of liberation, a release from the chains of resentment. The Buddha taught that holding on to anger is like carrying a heavy stone. It weighs us down. When we refuse to forgive, we let others' actions continue to harm us. As the Buddha wisely said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Take the story of Kunal, a shopkeeper in a coastal town, who harbored resentment toward a customer who cheated him. For years, that anger consumed him until he chose to forgive, not for the customer, but for himself. Forgiveness freed Kunal from bitterness, allowing him to smile again. It's not about condoning harm, but about choosing peace over pain. Through forgiveness, we cultivate compassion, seeing the humanity in those who hurt us, and even in ourselves. Kunal forgave himself for his own mistakes too, finding a lighter heart. This practice opens the door to healing, reconciliation, and a deeper understanding of suffering, leading to a more harmonious life. Kunal's story is a testament to the transformative power of forgiveness. He ran a small grocery store in a coastal town, where the salty air and crashing waves were a daily reminder of life's ebb and flow. One day, a regular customer, Mr. Rao, cheated Kunal by paying with counterfeit money. The betrayal stung deeply. Kunal had trusted Mr. Rao, often giving him discounts during tough times. For months, Kunal's anger festered, replaying the incident in his mind, imagining confrontations that never happened. His once warm smile faded, and his interactions with other customers grew cold. But one evening, as he watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Kunal remembered the Buddha's teaching about forgiveness. He sat on the beach, the sand cool beneath him, and reflected on the weight he'd been carrying. Why am I letting this man's actions steal my joy? He asked himself. He realized that holding on to anger was only hurting him. His health was suffering, his sleep restless, his heart heavy. Kunal decided to forgive Mr. Rao, not because the act was justified, but because he wanted to be free. The next time Mr. Rao visited the store, Kunal greeted him with a nod, choosing peace over confrontation. Over time, Kunal's warmth returned, and he even forgave himself for not noticing the counterfeit money sooner, recognizing his own humanity in the mistake. The Buddha's metaphor of anger as poison is a profound reminder of its self-destructive nature. When we cling to resentment as Kunal did, we trap ourselves in a cycle of suffering. Our minds become consumed with thoughts of revenge or justice, draining our energy and clouding our joy. Forgiveness, however, is a conscious choice to break that cycle. It's not about forgetting or excusing harm, It's about releasing its hold on us. Imagine resentment as a heavy backpack you've been carrying for years. Each step feels harder, your shoulders ache, but you keep walking, thinking it's your duty to carry the load. Forgiveness is the moment you set the backpack down, feeling the lightness in your body, the freedom in your steps. For Kunal, this meant letting go of Mr. Rao's betrayal, but it also meant forgiving himself for his own perceived failures. Self-forgiveness is often the hardest, yet most liberating part of this practice. We all carry guilt, perhaps for words we've spoken in anger, opportunities we've missed, or times we've let ourselves down. But the Buddha teaches us to extend the same compassion to ourselves that we offer others. In daily life, forgiveness can be a gradual process. Start by identifying someone you've been holding a grudge against, maybe a friend who hurt you, a colleague who undermined you, or even yourself. Sit in a quiet space, close your eyes, and visualize that person. Acknowledge the pain they caused, but also their humanity, their own struggles, fears, and imperfections. Then silently say, "I forgive you for my own peace." You might need to repeat this over days or weeks, but with each repetition, the burden lightens. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, it means freedom. Kunal's story shows us that when we forgive, we reclaim our power, opening our hearts to healing, compassion, and a deeper connection to the shared suffering of all beings. Lesson 6. Use mindfulness to channel your anger. Mindfulness is a lantern in the storm of anger, illuminating our path to peace. The Buddha taught that by being fully present, we can observe our emotions without being swept away. When we practice mindfulness, we notice anger as it arises, creating a space to choose our response. As the Buddha said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." I recall a moment when I felt anger rising during a heated discussion with a loved one. My heart raced, my fists clenched, but I paused, took a deep breath, and focused on the sensation of my breath. That pause allowed me to respond with kindness instead of rage. Mindfulness teaches us non-judgmental awareness. Anger isn't good or bad, it simply is. By exploring the physical sensations of anger, like a racing heart, we can calm ourselves. Techniques like deep breathing or mindful walking, as practiced by Tara, a nurse in a busy hospital, can dissipate anger's energy. Mindfulness reveals that emotions are transient, empowering us to act thoughtfully, fostering empathy and compassion for ourselves and others. Let's explore Tara's story to see mindfulness in action. Tara worked in a bustling hospital in a metropolitan city, where long shifts and high stakes were part of her daily life. One particularly chaotic day, a patient's family member yelled at her, blaming her for a delay in treatment. Tara felt a wave of anger wash over her. Her heart pounded, her jaw tightened, and she wanted to snap back. But she had been practicing mindfulness for months, inspired by a Buddhist workshop she attended. In that moment, Tara stepped into a quiet corner of the hospital, closed her eyes, and took 3 deep breaths. She focused on the sensation of her breath, the cool air entering her nostrils, the warmth as she exhaled. She noticed the physical signs of her anger, the tension in her shoulders, the heat in her chest, and simply observed them without judgment. "I'm angry," she thought, "and that's okay." This simple act of awareness created a space between her emotion and her response. Instead of lashing out, Tara returned to the family member, spoke calmly, and explained the situation with empathy. The family member apologized, and Tara felt a sense of peace, knowing she had chosen compassion over conflict. Mindfulness, as the Buddha taught, is about anchoring ourselves in the present moment, where anger loses its grip. When we dwell on the past, like a hurtful comment from yesterday, or worry about the future, like fearing a conflict will escalate, we fuel our anger. But in the present, we find clarity. Imagine your mind as a river. Anger is a strong current pulling you downstream. Mindfulness is the anchor that keeps you steady, allowing you to watch the current without being swept away. Tara's practice of deep breathing is just one way to cultivate this awareness. You might also try mindful walking, feeling each step, the ground beneath your feet, or progressive muscle relaxation, releasing tension from your body. Another powerful technique is to label your emotions as they arise. This is anger. This is frustration. This simple act of naming creates distance, helping you see the emotion as a passing cloud rather than a permanent storm. Mindfulness also deepens our empathy, as Tara discovered. When we observe our own anger without judgment, we begin to see the suffering beneath it, our own pain, our unmet needs. This awareness extends to others. Tara realized the family member's anger came from fear for their loved one, not from malice. This understanding softened her heart, allowing her to respond with kindness. In your own life, mindfulness can transform how you handle anger. The next time you feel it rising, perhaps during a disagreement with a partner or a stressful moment at work, pause. Take 5 deep breaths, focusing on the sensation of breathing. Notice your body, your thoughts, your emotions without trying to change them. Then choose your response. Over time, this practice not only tames anger, but also cultivates a deeper connection to yourself and others, leading to a life of greater peace and understanding. Don't let this moment of clarity slip away. Subscribe now to begin your journey into mindful awareness with Daily Buddhist. Your path to peace is just a click away. Lesson 7. Elevate your life with the power of gratitude. Gratitude is a golden key that unlocks a life of contentment, even amidst anger. The Buddha taught that by focusing on what we have, rather than what we lack, we cultivate positivity. Anger often stems from a sense of scarcity, but gratitude reframes our perspective. When Anika, a single mother, felt overwhelmed by life's challenges, she began writing down 3 things she was grateful for each day. Her child's laughter, a warm meal, the sunrise. As the Buddha said, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little." This practice shifted Anika's focus, reducing her anger and fostering resilience. Gratitude strengthens relationships too. When we express appreciation, we create harmony. It anchors us in the present, counteracting anger's pull toward the past or future. By practicing gratitude toward ourselves, acknowledging our efforts, we replace self-criticism with kindness, building a more balanced life. Anika's story illustrates the transformative power of gratitude. She lived in a small apartment in a busy city, raising her 5-year-old son, Rohan, on her own. Life was a constant juggle, working long hours at a retail store, managing bills, and ensuring Rohan had a happy childhood. One evening, after a particularly tough day, Anika snapped at Rohan for spilling juice on the floor. Her anger flared, fueled by exhaustion and the weight of her responsibilities. But as she cleaned up the mess, she noticed Rohan's small hand reaching out to help, his eyes wide with concern. In that moment, Anika felt a pang of guilt, but also a spark of inspiration. She had recently read about the Buddha's teachings on gratitude and decided to try it. That night, she started a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things she was thankful for: Rohan's innocent smile, the warm meal they shared, and the sunrise she'd watched that morning. The next day, when a customer at work was rude, Anika felt the familiar rise of anger, but she paused, thought of her gratitude list, and smiled instead. Over weeks, this practice became a lifeline, helping her find joy even in the hardest moments. She began expressing gratitude to others too, thanking her neighbor for watching Rohan, appreciating her boss for a small raise. These acts of appreciation not only reduced her anger, but also deepened her connections, creating a ripple effect of positivity in her life. The Buddha's teaching on gratitude is a reminder that joy is often hidden in the ordinary. Anger thrives on a mindset of lack, focusing on what's missing, what's gone wrong. But gratitude shifts our lens, revealing the abundance that surrounds us. Imagine your life as a tapestry. Anger weaves threads of darkness, but gratitude adds threads of gold, creating a masterpiece of light. Anika's practice of writing down 3 things each day is a simple yet powerful way to start. You might be grateful for a friend's kind words, the warmth of your morning coffee, or the sound of birds outside your window. Even in challenges, there's something to appreciate. Perhaps a lesson learned, a moment of resilience, or the support of a loved one. Gratitude also fosters self-compassion. Anika began to acknowledge her own efforts as a mother, replacing self-criticism with kindness. She realized she was doing her best, and that was enough. In your own life, gratitude can be a daily ritual. Start each morning by noting 3 things you're thankful for, or end your day by reflecting on moments of joy. Share your appreciation with others. Tell a friend you value their support. Thank a coworker for their help. This practice not only reduces anger, but also anchors you in the present, where peace resides. Anika's story shows us that gratitude is a bridge to resilience, connection, and a life filled with light, even in the darkest moments. Lesson 8. Strengthen self-control for a more balanced life. Self-control is the foundation of a harmonious life, a shield against anger's chaos. The Buddha taught that it's not about suppressing emotions, but responding with wisdom. In a world full of distractions, self-control allows us to pause and choose our actions. As the Buddha said, "It is a man's own mind, not his enemy or foe, that lures him to evil ways." Consider Samir, a student in a competitive university, who often felt anger when stressed. By practicing mindfulness and setting boundaries like limiting social media, he gained control over his reactions. Self-control begins with self-awareness, identifying triggers, and preparing responses. Patience, discipline, and delayed gratification are key. Samir started meditating daily, a discipline that helped him respond calmly even under pressure. Over time, self-control leads to resilience, better relationships, and a life aligned with our deepest values. Samir's journey with self-control offers a roadmap for us all. He was a final-year student at a prestigious university, where the pressure to excel was relentless. Exams, internships, and social expectations often left him overwhelmed, and his anger would flare at the smallest provocations: a friend's teasing, a professor's critique, or even a slow internet connection. One day, after yelling at his roommate over a misplaced book, Samir realized he needed to change. He had recently attended a Buddhist seminar on self-control and decided to apply its teachings. He began by identifying his triggers, noticing that his anger peaked when he was sleep-deprived or scrolling endlessly on social media. Samir set boundaries. He limited his screen time to 1 hour a day and committed to a regular sleep schedule. He also started a daily meditation practice, sitting for 10 minutes each morning, focusing on his breath. At first, his mind raced, but over time, he learned to observe his thoughts without reacting. When anger arose, like during a heated debate in class, he'd pause, take a deep breath, and choose his words carefully. This discipline transformed his relationships. His roommate became a close friend, and his professors noted his newfound maturity. Samir's self-control not only tamed his anger, but also helped him excel academically, as he channeled his energy into his studies rather than emotional outbursts. The Buddha's teaching here is a call to master our minds, the true source of our challenges. Self-control is like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes. It begins with self-awareness, as Samir discovered. Take a moment to reflect. What triggers your anger? Is it a specific person, a recurring situation, or an internal stressor like fatigue? Once you identify your triggers, you can prepare responses. For example, if traffic jams spark your anger, keep a calming playlist ready, or use the time to practice deep breathing. Patience is another key aspect of self-control. The Buddha often described patience as a shield, protecting us from anger's harm. When you feel the urge to react, count to 10 or step away from the situation. This small act of delayed gratification, choosing long-term peace over short-term release, builds resilience. Discipline, too, is essential. Samir's daily meditation practice is a powerful example, but you might also try journaling, exercise, or visualization techniques, imagining yourself responding calmly in challenging situations. Self-control also means setting boundaries, both with others and ourselves. If a toxic relationship drains you, limit your exposure or communicate your needs clearly. If you're prone to overworking, schedule breaks to recharge. Over time, these practices create a life of balance and harmony. Samir's story shows us that self-control is not about perfection. It's about progress. Each time we choose to pause, to breathe, to act with intention, we take a step toward a more peaceful, fulfilling life, aligned with our deepest values. If you've ever used mindfulness to find calm in chaos, type 1 in the comments. If you're just starting your mindfulness journey, type 2. You're in the right place. Let's build a community of peace together. As we reflect on these 8 Buddhist lessons, we see a clear path unfolding. A path not to suppress anger, but to transform it into a force for growth, understanding, and peace. Each lesson, from self-reflection to self-control, offers a stepping stone toward a life of greater harmony. The Buddha's timeless wisdom reminds us that anger, though a natural part of being human, does not have to define us. Instead, it can be a teacher, guiding us toward deeper self-awareness and compassion. Imagine a world where every heated moment becomes an opportunity for connection, where every frustration leads to clarity. This is the promise of these teachings, a promise you can begin to fulfill today. Let's revisit the stories we've shared. Maya by the lake discovered her anger was a call to heal her self-worth. Arjun, the teacher, chose peace over reaction, preserving his inner calm. Priya turned a family argument into a moment of understanding, while Riya channeled her anger into art, creating beauty from pain. Kunal, the shopkeeper, freed himself through forgiveness, and Tara, the nurse, used mindfulness to navigate her chaotic days. Anika, the single mother, found joy through gratitude, and Samir, the student, built resilience through self-control. These stories are not just tales, they are mirrors reflecting your own potential. You too can transform your anger step by step, breath by breath. The journey to mastering anger is a lifelong one, but it begins with a single choice. The choice to pause, to reflect, and to act with intention. Start small, perhaps by taking 5 minutes today to sit in silence, noticing your breath, and reflecting on a recent moment of anger. What triggered it? What did it teach you? Then practice gratitude. Write down 3 things you're thankful for, no matter how small. These simple acts, rooted in the Buddha's teachings, can create ripples of change in your life. Over time, as you cultivate mindfulness, forgiveness, and self-control, you'll notice a shift, not just in how you handle anger, but in how you experience life itself. Your relationships will deepen, your mind will quiet, and your heart will open to a peace you may have thought was out of reach. Your journey toward peace begins now. Share your story in the comments. Have you experienced moments of unexpected calm or insight? Your journey could inspire someone else. Let's grow together with Daily Buddhist. This path is not always easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. The Buddha's wisdom teaches us patience and self-compassion, reminding us that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. If you stumble, be kind to yourself. Anger is a signal, not a failure. It's an invitation to look deeper, to heal, and to grow. As you apply these lessons in your daily life, you'll find that anger arises less often, and when it does, you'll meet it with grace. You'll become a beacon of peace for those around you, showing that transformation is possible, even in the most challenging moments. At Daily Buddhist, we're here to support you every step of the way. Whether you're new to these teachings or a seasoned practitioner, there's always more to learn, more to explore. The wisdom you seek has always been within you. It's in the pause between your thoughts, the softness of your breath, the gratitude in your heart. So take a moment now to breathe deeply. Feel the air fill your lungs, and as you exhale, let go of any tension, any anger, any weight you've been carrying. This is your moment of peace, a moment you can return to whenever you need. Peace is not found by seeking, but by pausing, breathing, and embracing the present. Click subscribe now. Your path to inner peace starts here with Daily Buddhist. Let's walk this journey together. May you find peace in every step.